Alright, so what we got going on here, I didn't even videotape it. I figure there's no point in time lapsing cutting out some metal. But the stencil that we made for the reveal panel, went ahead and cut it out of some aluminum sheeting I went and bought this morning. Pretty thin stuff. Lightweight, so it's not going to add no weight to the front of the nose or nothing like that. We're at the shop. I'm at CRC, and I am going to run this to the house and test fit this on the car. Flat wheel it at the house if I got any more clearance issues. Make sure it fits tight, and then run it back over here for paint. So we're going to do some cool paint stuff on it. Actually going to reveal the car's name. I was trying to hold off to the front end, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in this so it's going to be seen. Going to reveal the car's name in this, and we're going to put the CRC logo in this all out of paint. So stay tuned. So I did this whole thing with, of course, your safety gear, but a flat wheel, cut-off wheel, some tape, make a straight edge, made a couple straight edges, make sure it's right. And then after I got done, I took my sander, 320 grit, and I 320'd the top of it, and then I actually took the DA and turned on its side and ran down the sides to try to make sure I got a straight surface and rolled my edges, you know, just that way. Because the flat wheel I got pretty good. I'm pretty good with the flat wheel, but you know, you still want to take it and run this, you know, around all your edges, just so you can make sure that that edge is nice and straight and it looks like a machine cut it, even though it was cut by hand, because I don't have a cutter to cut this kind of stuff. So I build everything I do by hand. Anyway, we're gonna now shoot it with some Bulldog, or wipe it down, shoot it with some Bulldog, then some etching primer. Since it is metal, since we're putting a little time into this, I don't want to chance it coming off. So Bulldog, etching primer, and then rock and roll into the other steps. Alright, so this is what we got. It's about 2 o'clock on Friday. I was gonna do base coat and then do my design on top of my base coat and then clear coat everything. Problem with that is you have primer and base coat that's still somewhat tacky and not super hard, and it's delicate because it doesn't have a good clear on top of it. So I went ahead and put a dirty clear mix on top of this, and it's got trash in it, all that. Don't care about none of that. This just gives me a good foundation to start on. And then what I'm gonna do is I've got an accelerator in this piece. I'm gonna let this dry until later this afternoon. I'm probably gonna come back in tonight, and I'm gonna wet sand this to knock the trashes out of it and to give it something to adhere to. Wet sand it nice and flat, like I said, get the trash out, and then we're gonna go over top of this with our artwork. And then we will airbrush out our artwork, do all of our airbrush work, and then I will come back and clear again over top of it. So this has one coat of clear, so my airbrush will basically be between the first coat and second coat. And on top of the airbrush work, there will be 2 coats. So you'll have 1 coat of clear, that's here now, airbrush, 2 coats of clear, 3 coats of clear. Alright, so here we are Monday morning. I actually ended up letting this whole thing dry over the weekend. I've come in, wet sanded it out. This is where trash was. You can see the little areas where there was trash at. So I went ahead and wet sanded all that out so it's smooth. By the time you do your artwork and then your clear coat over top of it, this will be smooth besides any new trash that gets into it, which then can be wet sanded and buffed after the final step. Alright, so I told everybody I wasn't going to get this fancy, wasn't going to do this much, but we are going to spray carbon fiber pattern this morning. So what we got is basically some drawer liners. It goes in like a kitchen drawer. You see the pattern on it? The pattern is the trick. This is what's hard to find. When I actually went to find this pattern, it was a lot harder to find because a lot of the patterns are different and they don't look like little squares. You got to have it where it looks like them little squares for it to look any bit slightest like carbon. So this is my smaller piece I have. I also have a big piece for like hoods. You're just going to take it, lay it across your surface, make sure it's nice and laid out the best as you can. And I think we're actually going to clamp it and pull this one tight to get all the wrinkles out of it. It'd be best if you could store these pieces somewhere that they don't get wrinkled, but unfortunately I don't have anywhere that I can do that. Mine get wrinkled. I'll just leave it like that. Take it, we'll put one clamp here. And we're going to pull this out. Alright, so we got that laid out. There's no wrinkles in it. Blow it off one more time. Make sure that's tucked nice and tight. laid out. Now this is where you mix up whatever color that you want your carbon look to be. I think I'm gonna just roll traditional and do a silver on it and not get crazy like I originally planned. So let me mix up some silver. All right, so I've mixed up just a bright silver with some scrap paint. You see it right there? It's just a scrap bright silver. You can do any color on this step. You can do green, blue, red, whatever you want your carbon look to be. You can do it. So all I'm gonna do is take this and spray some good coats over it. You don't want too much air pressure because then it will shoot it under the pattern and you want it to go straight through. So you want your air pressure to be kind of low, but enough to get through the squares decently. All right, so you see we sprayed that. Now I do have a wrinkle right there, if you see it. There's a wrinkle. That is probably going to affect our pattern. When we pull this matting back, you'll probably see that wrinkle, which is not a big deal to me. I'm not too picky, and I will probably tint this down at the end a little bit, but the smoother you can get it, like that side's pretty smooth because I have all the clamps. This side I was a little short on clamps and I thought I had it out, but I did have that wrinkle in there. And right here is humped up. So I don't remember if there's, I don't think so. I think this piece curves back right here. So hopefully there's not actually part of the panel there, because that would affect it. Basically, if it's not laying flat on it, then the paint goes in there and floats under. If it's flat on it, then it's less likely to go in there and float out all over the place and distort your pattern. If we pull this off and we don't like the way it looks, we just hit it with some more black base coat, let it dry, try it again. That's the cool thing about this step, because I am working on top of clear coat. All right, so there's what we got, and it did this pudding. I did probably spray it a little too much, and that got a little bit more silver underneath the pattern. And this would be perfect where I should have honestly did this on Friday, and then you would go over top of this with a tinted clear coat, but I wasn't gonna do this originally, and plans kind of changed at the last minute due to dry time, and I rolled out of here. So I decided to just roll with this morning, but I think we're still gonna just roll with it, do the CRC pattern and everything in it. And then I'm actually gonna do another coat of tinted clear over top of it. When you do your tinted clear, that's what knocks this down. This is so bright and in your face, and the distortion of the silver between it, the camera's really just not picking it up. It's actually a lot duller in person, but the tinted clear is what knocks it down and makes it look closer to an actual carbon fiber. The tinted clear is the secret to it. But I think we're gonna rock and roll with the decal right on over top of this, and then do a smoked tinted clear over top of everything to help tone it down some. All right, so this is where you took vinyl, and all you've done is printed out a vinyl piece, and instead of pulling the outside perimeter off, you've just pulled the inside out to make a template. Mike, you gonna help? No, no. So we're just literally just laying out where we want this stuff. Making sure you get it laid out where you want it, and we're going to start masking it off. So I think that's how it'll be. We're going to do the same thing for this one, peel the backing off. So when you have somebody cut these decals, they have to understand that you have to actually cut out the decal and trash it. Like you're actually using the part that normally gets trashed because you're making a stencil. And roll like that. Get. Everything's not supposed to have paint on it. It'd actually be easier to cut it out, but just gotta make sure you get everything covered. All right, so this is what you should end up with. You've got everything papered up, everything protected, everything covered, everything wrapped around the board nice and tight so that there's no paint you're about to put inside this color gonna get anywhere. And you gotta go through here and make sure all this is pressed down nice and tight before you start actually spraying. So we're gonna press this down, make sure everything's stuck right before we start spraying. But we're gonna go mix up the gun, get it working, and get a color mix. All right, so I think we missed some of the time lapse. Something happened with the camera. Definitely need to get a GoPro because the cell phone is costing me footage in some situations. Now we're just gonna untape everything, pull it, and then rock and roll with the clear coat. All right, so that's what you're ended up with after you pill it. And pilling it, as you can see, is a pain. It definitely helps to have fingernails. I actually just cut mine the other night, so that definitely hurt me. But that's what you're left with, and now what we're gonna do is lightly smoke this to tint this down so it don't look so bright. Okay, so for this step, for the tinted clear, if you recall in all the other videos, we're gonna mix our clear out, and then we're gonna add a little bit of black base to it. Like I said, it's better to start off small and add to it than to go too heavy. So to get started for my tinted, I'm just gonna mix up a 1 because the smoked clear, once you, it's not like you can keep using it. So once you achieve the smoke level that you want, the clear that you mixed is trash. So you don't wanna waste a ton. You don't wanna waste a ton of it, so you don't wanna mix a ton up. And it shouldn't take too many layers to achieve the results we want. So it is a 4 to 1 to 1. We went over this 100 times. So 4 parts clear, 1 part hardener, 1 part reducer. We'll go over that every single time in case you're new to the channel, but you can definitely refer back at other videos. All right. Straight black 9300. We've used this on other jobs. It's just straight black, no metallic. So we're gonna put a little in here, and then we'll be spraying over it to see what we got. So I'm gonna start out with that. We don't want to darken it up a ton. We just want to knock the sharpness off. So it basically all the carbon fiber and everything just looks really sharp. We just want to knock some of that sharpness off. By doing that, the gun's also still dirty, so that's gonna add a little bit to it. But you'll be surprised, it looks really dark, and then when you go to shoot it, it actually is not. And I'm gonna try to do on a test panel. So what you'll see me do is I'm gonna go in here and mix it. I'm gonna shoot it on just the board where the pattern is oversprayed on top of. That way I can see what I'm looking like, and if I'm happy with that and it looks okay, then I'll put the actual panel back in place, and then we'll start rocking and rolling. Let's do it. Clear looks like. So you can see our carbon pattern looks a whole lot better. It's not as sharp, it's a lot more dim, and it's just a pattern. We're not trying to make it look like carbon. Our colors are a lot not in your face. They're a lot more varied and more ghost looking, which is kind of what I wanted. And with all that, you can see how cool it is with the light over it. It doesn't look like a decal. And when we put some more coats of straight clear over it, this is really going to bury this. But you can see the colors are still there, they're just smoked now. So now we're going to let this dry for a few minutes, and then we're going to come back and hammer on one heavy coat of clear over this, and then that way I have something to wet sand and buff on top of. But there's what you got. So there's the finished product. I don't like it. My wife likes it. Mike likes it. It looks good. I just wanted the orange brighter, but like I said, in order to do that, I would have had to do the carbon fiber on Friday. But it still looks good when the light hits it. You know, this is the sunlight. You know, it still hits hard, and you can see it. You can see it really good like that. But I just wish that I would have done the carbon fiber on Friday. I mean, it looks good, but. So that's the finished product.
I like it.
That buffing these panels by yourself with one hand, well, it definitely gives your arm a workout, hell of a workout. Because you're trying to keep it from holding it in place while it's spinning. And then you're also, you know, trying to move it around and just everything. Sucks. I think she's got a crazy gloss, and you can see the letters are literally like buried into the clear coat. Got most of the trash out. I think it looks amazing. It looks sick. And there's the name of the car. Let's see here. It looks freaking amazing to me. And there's how much like glass she is. I mean, it just disappears into the clear coat, which is what you want. That way it don't look like a vinyl. That's awesome. So there you go. That's a kind of carbon look like. I mean, it doesn't, by no means, you're not trying to fake anybody. You can get it zoom in, you can see the fuzziness, but you're not trying to fake nobody. You're just trying not to have a plain Jane boring black piece. And I do actually know other tricks of other ways to make things look stuff. Yeah, I think a lot of that's wax, just to be wiped off. Anyway, I know other patterns that I can do that I've learned, but the carbon I think will look good. The carbon look-alike. And maybe one day I'll actually replace this with a legit piece of carbon, but I think that's awesome for right now. So there you go. That's what the finished product will look like. All right, so here's what we got. Got our panel laid out, and all we did was take some 1-inch tape and run it across your edges, and then draw you a line through the center of the tape, and then lay out where your screw holes want to go. So of course I had one there, of course I had one at intersection points, and then I just kind of split the others where they go. For the bar, I use the screws that have 7mm heads on them. I don't really like it, but it's what I had laying around. I'll probably change it with some different hardware later on. So it's these kind of screws. Normally they go in a little clip like this. So I had a whole box of them. So that's just what I used. So I could use a socket, because trying to put a Phillips head screw in there without actually tapping the hole is not the best, but you can just drill an 1/8 inch hole and run these in there with a 7mm socket slowly, and they kind of tap themselves in. So that's what I've done out there. But like I said, I'll probably hit the hardware store and change them out, something that looks better later on, or even go ahead. These front screws that I'm using are just regular Phillips ones with a tapered head on them. So these are about an 1/8 inch also. So after I've put them in there, these might run in there pretty freely. So I might go and change them all out real fast. But figured it's boring to watch a time lapse. So that's all I did, is just lay the panels out and drill the holes and then run some screws up in them. So I'm gonna pull the tape off now, finish putting all the screws in, maybe recheck them, and then we'll see what it looks like in the end. So there you go. That's what you end up with. That's what it looks like. We got all the screws in it. I am a fan of the screws in it like that. The silver screws are exposed. Like I said, I changed them out because it does match, you know, all the screws around the intake. And I've always been a fan on these type of cars of the exposed screws, like in the Lexan and optic armor windows and vice versa, stuff like that. I think it looks really good. So I'm happy with it. We are fitting the bumper on. That's the only last step I have on the front end, because I still have to make mounts so that this is removable so that it can just come right off. But I've got the valence back on it. So valence is all back on it. Everything is just, like I said, just free hanging the bumper. So I'm working on getting all the mounts done on it. But yeah, I'm happy when it comes out. So now this is official. This is the car's name, Paint and Paper. The YouTube channel will be Paint and Paper, the Paint and Paper Hustle. And then, you know, later on, if we get into racing and we want to put a name on that, as a lot of people do, it would be Paint and Paper Racing. So hopefully everybody likes it, and hopefully you learned how to make a look-alike carbon fiber for yourself. Okay, so now that you've seen all of that, just kind of want to go over and say I hope everybody enjoys the new channel name, and hopefully we can make something out of this. Hopefully the new car name is a good pick, and hopefully everybody likes it. It just fits me perfect, I feel like, with my line of work and what we do. You know, the paint part of it and then the paper part of it's kind of just a play on words of, you know, people refer to money as paper. And then when you're painting, you mask some stuff up with paper so that you don't get overspray and you don't get paint on stuff. So I think it's just a good play on word. I think it fits the car well. I think it fits the channel well. On this channel, we will be going over a lot of paint stuff, a lot of salvage stuff, and a lot of collision stuff. All that kind of stuff, just anything that I can help somebody else make a dollar with, you know, make a hustle on, just about life, money, and the car itself. We'll go through. I wish I could go back and put all the film on everything that we've missed on the car, but you'll be able to see the car in its final stages, get put together. We'll grow together, we'll grow the car, we'll grow this channel. And then when we start going out and making all the test hits, and we start doing some racing, all that stuff, paint jobs, everything. I mean, the channel is just going to be a pretty good car channel for guys that are into racing and making stuff look good, basically. And DIY and not spending a bunch of money, and how to save money and make stuff yourself and do stuff yourself. You can do it. You don't have to be the smartest person in the world to do all this. I'm surely not. But yeah, hopefully this channel, like I said, can help people out. Hopefully the name fits it well, and hopefully everybody likes it. So